So it's about 10:15 at night. It is actually just starting to rain, which is bizarre because it's been so sunny and lovely all day. We've got our shorts on, the sun is still out, and even though the sun does go down, it never gets dark at the moment, does it? So
No, it doesn't, no.
you can get up at 3 in the morning and it's still perfectly light. We haven't used the lights in the van at all, apart from during the thunderstorm last night. That was interesting.
Yes, we're driving up to Bodo and we'll be there in a couple of days' time, 3 or 4 days' time. But when we get there, the sun won't set at all, which is amazing, really. So we're at a latitude of
65 degrees north.
and we're kind of halfway along Greenland. So if you think about it like that.
Yeah, so we're parallel, we're at the same level as Iceland, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we're halfway up Greenland.
Yeah.
And we're just below the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
And we've got shorts and t-shirt on at 10:15 at night, and it's 19 degrees, so
Yeah.
you can't really argue with that,
No,
can you?
although, as you say, it's starting to rain a bit heavier now.
It is
isn't
starting to rain a little bit more, but I think it's because it's so hot in the day. I think these storms gather up, don't they, during the evening, and then they break. But it's lovely.
Absolutely stunning, I have to say. And I think we've used that word numerous occasions.
We have.
We've run out of superlatives.
Ooh,
But
get you with your superlatives.
But yeah, we really can't complain about anything at the
No,
moment.
definitely not. Life is good.
Yeah.
Call it off, let it go.
On many of the scenic routes in Norway, they have art installations, and this is one of them. And this is basically stepping stones, as you can see. And these stepping stones are here in low tide, as is now. They basically are totally uncovered, and the tide comes in and starts to cover them up. And at high tide, ooh, that's a very wonky one. At high tide, they are completely covered. And again, I think this is all meant to be meaningful in the fact that it just goes to show how the tide comes and goes and covers things up. And on the floor of the sea, you can actually see worm casts, you can see shells of various bits and pieces. And yeah, it's quite an interesting one, this one.
Norway is full of tunnels, but the other thing it's also full of is quite impressive bridges, and this is one of them. We've been over a couple so far, but this is quite amazing. It's a huge bend in the beginning of it, and then an enormous bridge over the channel here. And it seems to be connecting islands that have very few people on as well, but presumably it's worth their while doing it. So we are here in Norway, and we're unsurprisingly, and we've just found a place where basically you can empty your loo cassette, you can get fresh water, and you can dump your grey water, which is quite amazing.
And these are all over Norway, so it does, kind of prove that you can wild camp as much as you want to, and it's fine, isn't it?
It is, and it's all free.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. There's also toilets here as well. There's electric charging points, picnic places, whatever. And we'd found somewhere a couple of hours further up the road, but this didn't have anybody in it, so we thought, well, let's go in here.
Yeah. So
And,
no, it's perfect for just camping in your camper van, motorhome, whatever. Norway is ideal. It's really, really well set up for it.
It is. It is. In fact, there's another camper van coming in now, but we haven't seen anybody else in here up to this point.
No.
Yeah, very, very efficient. We're very impressed, aren't we?
We are indeed. Yes.
So we've just finished our camping for the night, which was about a kilometre down that way, and this is Hela, and this is famous for the fact that it's got these steps that go down right into the edge of the fjord. I'm not really too sure what they're for, apart from the fact that if you wanted to swim it would be very handy, but they're quite impressive. It's fairly fresh today as well, a lot different to the other days, but then on the other hand it's been quite fresh in the mornings and it's often come out to be a very nice day in the afternoon, so who knows. So this morning we are at Gronsvik. This is a World War II Nazi fort, and the Nazis built 350 forts along the west coast of Norway, and they built them to make part of the Atlantic Wall, which stretched from the north of Norway all the way down to the border with Spain. Quite amazing. And this is the gun emplacement, which has an absolutely fantastic view. We've been underground into a couple of underground rooms. One of them was going to be a hospital. Can't imagine anybody getting better in there, but there you go, maybe they did, I don't know. But it did say that one was never finished, actually, didn't it, on the sign? But it is quite amazing, and you can quite see why the Nazis chose the places that they did, because this is incredible with the views of the fjord and the surrounding waters. So we're just coming up to the Arctic Circle, and we're reading a little bit about the Arctic Circle before we came on this ferry. And the Arctic Circle goes through 8 different countries. It goes through Norway, Sweden and Finland, which are easy to remember because that's where we are. Also goes through Russia, Greenland, Iceland, Canada and the USA. It's 66 degrees north of the equator, and Arctic actually is part of the Greek word for Arsos or something like that. I think it was to do with the Greek constellation, the constellation of the bear, wasn't it? And it comes from the Greek to do with bear, which is presumably where the North Star is, but I don't really know. And the North Pole, the magnetic North Pole, is actually moving by 14 metres a year, which is actually quite a lot when you think about it. And it does mean that when we get to the Arctic Circle symbol, it probably actually isn't in the right place. There's an Arctic Circle centre on the main road up this way as well, and that's not in the right place. That's about 285 metres out now. But apparently in 40,000 years' time it will be in the right place again, so who knew, eh? The Arctic Circle, of course, is where you get 24-hour sun and 24-hour night. It doesn't mean you don't get... We've had 24-hour daylight for quite a long time, but actually the sun has still gone below the horizon. But here, the sun does not set at all for 2 months of the year, and then for 2 or 3 months of the year, the sun doesn't rise above the horizon at all either. And that is actually the sign, the symbol that shows that we are now crossing into the Arctic Circle itself. Very small and quite insignificant, but we're still crossing into the Arctic Circle. So Roger and I have just left Henry nearer the edge of the fjord, and we've walked about a mile, most of which has been uphill, I have to say. And this is an absolutely amazing view. That's Beiranger Fjord down there. And we were just reading, there's a little sign up here that tells you about the fact that in 1942, some British and Norwegian forces, 12 of them, were dropped off by submarine, bearing in mind the Atlantic Wall that I spoke about earlier from the Nazis. So the submarines had to get into the fjord, they dropped them off, and then they went up that bit there and over the mountains so that they could destroy where the Nazis were trying to make the heavy water so they could make uranium bombs. And they managed it. And unfortunately, 8 of them were captured and sent to concentration camps and never saw through the war. 4 of them did manage to escape to Sweden, but only 2 of them actually survived the war. And we were just saying about the incredible bravery of people who do things like that, knowing that it was pretty much a given that they were unlikely, very unlikely to come back again. But they did manage to destroy some of the turbines and some of the storage places for the heavy water. And yeah, they did an amazing job because actually it was never used again during the war, which was quite incredible. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and send us a comment.